What if I told you that the most powerful strength you can develop is learning how to be completely unbothered by toxic people? Imagine what your life would feel like if you no longer carried their words, their negativity, or their chaos inside you. What if their attempts to hurt you, to shake your peace, simply bounced off like water on stone? This isn't just a nice idea or a vague hope. It's a real superpower waiting inside you to be unlocked. But first, you need to understand what it means to truly be unbothered. It's not about pretending you don't care or shutting off your heart. It's about owning your power, your peace, and refusing to let anyone else control your emotions or your worth. When you develop this ability, you become unshakable. You walk through life with calm, clarity, and strength that others envy. Toxic people lose their grip because you've taken back what they tried to steal, your emotional freedom. Staying unbothered doesn't mean you'll never face conflict or pain, but it does mean you will no longer be a victim to the chaos around you. The truth is, toxic people will always exist. They might be in your family, at work, or even in your closest circles. They thrive on drama, control, and feeding off others' pain. But you don't have to play their game. You don't have to absorb their toxicity or allow it to define your day, your mood, or your life. The moment you realize that your peace is your most valuable possession, you'll start protecting it fiercely. Imagine waking up every morning feeling lighter, clearer, and more in control of your emotions than ever before. Imagine the relief of no longer carrying the weight of anger, resentment, or fear caused by others' toxic behavior. That relief is what you can experience, and it begins the moment you decide to no longer give your energy away. The emotional reward of mastering this mindset is freedom. A freedom so profound that it changes how you see yourself and the world. You become someone who commands respect, not through anger or aggression, but through calm confidence and self-control. This shift rewires your brain, your reactions, and your daily experiences. It's a change that makes you stronger, wiser, and more resilient. But here's the key. Learning to be unbothered isn't a quick fix. It requires commitment, practice, and a willingness to face uncomfortable truths about yourself and others. It challenges your old habits of reacting and opens a path toward intentional response. The good news is, this path leads straight to a life where toxic people have no power over you. So if you're tired of feeling drained, anxious, or upset because of toxic people, stay with me. What follows is a step-by-step guide to unlocking this superpower inside you, helping you build emotional armor, set boundaries, and claim your peace. By the end of this, you'll see that being unbothered isn't just a dream. It's a choice, a skill, and your greatest strength. The journey to unshakable peace starts now. Are you ready to claim it? What if you could see toxic people clearly, not as enemies, but as reflections of their own pain and fear? Understanding this changes everything. Toxic behavior rarely comes from a place of strength or malice alone. It's often born from deep insecurities and unresolved wounds. When someone tries to pull you into their storm, they are battling their own chaos. Realizing this does not excuse their actions, but it frees you from the trap of taking their toxicity personally. The moment you stop personalizing their cruelty, you start to dismantle their power over your emotions. You no longer feel the need to defend, explain, or react. Instead, you gain the ability to observe with clarity and detachment. When you grasp this truth, your energy shifts from reactive to proactive. You begin to reclaim control over your inner world. Toxic people feed on your reactions. They want to stir anger, frustration, and self-doubt because these emotions give them influence. But once you see through the mask and understand the root of their behavior, their attempts to manipulate you lose their grip. You start to recognize their tactics, whether it's guilt-tripping, blame-shifting, or endless criticism, and you refuse to engage. This is not about suppressing your feelings or pretending everything is fine. It's about consciously choosing not to let their toxicity invade your peace. When you stop reacting to toxic triggers, you deny them the emotional fuel they crave. This mental and emotional distance is your fortress. It protects you from being dragged into battles that drain your energy and cloud your judgment. And the more you practice this perspective, the stronger your defenses become. You build a kind of emotional immunity, a shield forged from understanding, compassion, and firm boundaries. Imagine the relief of no longer being pulled into someone else's chaos. Imagine the freedom that comes with seeing toxic behavior for what it truly is, without absorbing its poison. This clarity is the first step toward emotional liberation. It allows you to focus your energy where it truly matters, on your growth, your dreams, and your peace. The people who try to bring you down are wrestling with their own shadows. When you refuse to be their mirror, you break the cycle. You refuse to carry their pain as your own. Instead, you rise above it with grace and strength. This shift doesn't mean you become cold or unfeeling. It means you become wise. You learn to protect your heart without closing it off. You create a safe space within yourself that no toxicity can penetrate. This is the foundation of being unbothered. It's a mindset that frees you from unnecessary suffering and emotional exhaustion. And once you internalize this mindset, you begin to see your relationships in a new light. You start to value those who uplift and respect you and gently distance yourself from those who drain your energy. You understand that protecting your peace is not selfish, it's essential. You deserve to live a life where your emotions are your own, where your mind is clear and your heart is strong. This understanding sets the stage for the next vital step, building the boundaries that keep your peace intact. But before you get there, remember this: recognizing toxic people for who they really are is your first act of reclaiming power. It's the moment you stop being their victim and start becoming the master of your emotional world. This truth will anchor you, no matter what storms come your way. Setting boundaries is not just a skill, it is the lifeline that preserves your peace in a world full of toxic influences. When you think about boundaries, don't picture walls or barriers meant to isolate you. Instead, see them as clear lines of respect you draw to protect your energy and your emotional health. Boundaries are your personal code, an unbreakable promise you make to yourself that certain behaviors and attitudes will no longer be tolerated. Without boundaries, toxic people will continue to invade your life, chip away at your confidence, and rob you of your happiness. The problem is, many people fear setting boundaries because it feels uncomfortable, or they worry about upsetting others. They think that saying no will lead to rejection or conflict. But what they don't realize is that failing to set boundaries actually invites deeper pain. When you allow toxic behavior to persist, you suffer in silence. Your mind becomes a battlefield, and your heart carries wounds that never heal. The truth is, setting boundaries is a radical act of self-love and courage. It says, I value myself enough to protect my peace, no matter what. When you start to practice this, your whole world shifts. You begin to stand taller, speak firmer, and move through life with a quiet confidence that cannot be shaken. Boundaries are your invisible shield, keeping you safe from emotional harm and manipulation. And the most powerful part? Boundaries don't just keep toxic people out. They also create space for healthy relationships to grow. When you set clear limits, you teach others how to treat you. You attract respect, kindness, and genuine connection. You stop wasting time on draining relationships and start investing in those that nurture your soul. But setting boundaries is not always easy. It requires you to know yourself deeply, what you will accept, what you won't, and why. It demands honesty and consistency. You have to be willing to say no, even when your heart fears loneliness or conflict. And you have to practice patience with yourself as you grow into this new way of being. Every time you honor a boundary, you reinforce your self-worth. You send a message to yourself that your feelings matter and your peace is non-negotiable. This repetition builds strength over time. Soon, saying no becomes less scary and more empowering. You stop over-explaining or justifying yourself. You simply stand firm, knowing that your emotional well-being is the highest priority. Remember, boundaries are not punishments for others. They are protections for you. They allow you to choose who and what deserves your time and energy. This clarity frees you from the exhausting cycle of people-pleasing and resentment. As you learn to set and maintain boundaries, you create a life where toxic people lose access to your mind and heart. You build a sanctuary inside yourself where negativity cannot survive. This sanctuary is your safe place, your superpower, your emotional fortress. It is where you begin to live fully, freely, and fearlessly. Your peace is worth fighting for. Protect it fiercely and watch how your entire world begins to change. True freedom from toxic people begins when you take full ownership of your emotional reactions. Too often we give away our power by allowing others to dictate how we feel, how we think, and how we respond. Toxic individuals know this. They seek to control you by triggering your deepest insecurities, fears, and doubts. But here's the truth that will change everything. Your emotions are yours alone. No one else can make you angry, anxious, or sad unless you let them. This does not mean your feelings aren't real or valid. On the contrary, it means you hold the key to how those feelings affect your life. When you stop blaming others for your emotional state, you reclaim your power. You step out of the victim role and into the role of the creator of your experience. This shift is not about suppressing your emotions or pretending toxic actions don't hurt. It's about recognizing that how you react is a choice, a powerful choice that shapes your reality. Imagine what it would feel like to pause before reacting, to breathe deeply, and to choose a response that protects your peace rather than feeds the chaos. This ability to respond rather than react is the foundation of being unbothered. It is a muscle you can strengthen with practice. Start by becoming aware of your triggers. Notice the moments when toxic behavior pulls at your emotions and makes you want to lash out, withdraw, or spiral into negativity. This awareness creates a gap, a space where you can choose differently. In that space, you decide not to give your power away. Instead, you decide to respond with calmness, clarity, and confidence. This practice rewires your brain, gradually turning old reactive patterns into new empowered habits. As you gain control over your emotions, toxic people lose their influence. Their words become noise, their actions lose impact, and their attempts to provoke you fail. This freedom allows you to focus on what truly matters: your growth, your goals, and your happiness. Emotional mastery also opens the door to self-compassion. When you stop blaming yourself for how toxic people affect you, you begin to treat yourself with kindness and patience. You accept that feeling hurt or triggered is natural, but you refuse to stay stuck there. You learn to comfort yourself, to heal, and to move forward stronger than before. This internal shift radiates outward. It changes how others see you and how you carry yourself in every interaction. You become someone who commands respect not through aggression, but through steady strength and unwavering peace. Taking ownership of your emotional responses is not always easy. It requires courage to face uncomfortable feelings and discipline to practice new habits consistently. But the rewards are immense. You break free from the exhausting cycle of emotional manipulation and reclaim your life. You become unbothered not because toxic people disappear, but because you no longer give them space inside your mind and heart. This is your superpower, the ability to remain calm, centered, and whole, no matter what storms rage around you. When you own your emotions fully, you become unstoppable. Nothing outside can shake the peace you carry within. When you choose to protect your peace, you inevitably face the challenge of letting go of the need to control how others perceive you. Toxic people thrive on your reactions because they feed on the energy you give them, whether it's anger, frustration, or even desperate attempts to be understood. But the real power lies in your ability to release this need for validation from those who seek to drain you. Understanding that you cannot control others, only your own response, frees you from endless cycles of disappointment and emotional exhaustion. The moment you accept this truth, you begin to shift from being a prisoner of toxic influence to the architect of your own peace. This release is not easy. It asks you to confront deep fears, the fear of rejection, loneliness, or being misunderstood. These fears have held many captive, convincing them that maintaining connection at any cost is worth the pain. But what if the cost is too high? What if true freedom requires you to walk away from relationships that no longer serve your highest good? When you let go of the need to be seen a certain way by toxic people, you reclaim your energy and your dignity. You stop performing emotional gymnastics to appease others, and instead you start living authentically. This authenticity attracts the right kind of energy. People who uplift rather than drain, who respect rather than disrespect. The decision to detach emotionally is not about becoming cold or indifferent. It's about cultivating a deep inner calm that cannot be disturbed by negativity. It's about choosing your peace over the chaos others try to impose. This practice strengthens your emotional resilience, making you less vulnerable to manipulation and more aligned with your true self. The process involves repeated commitment to yourself, reminding yourself daily that your worth is not tied to others' opinions or approval. It means practicing radical self-acceptance and embracing the imperfections within yourself that toxic voices often try to exploit. As you grow stronger in this detachment, you begin to notice subtle shifts. Your mind clears from obsessive thoughts about toxic people. Your heart heals from the wounds they caused. You develop a sense of peace that no external drama can shake. This peace is the foundation of your superpower, the ability to remain centered and calm regardless of external chaos. It is a quiet strength that radiates from within, creating a protective aura that repels negativity. Letting go of control over how toxic people see you does not mean giving up on your boundaries or your voice. Instead, it means setting them with grace and confidence, without the need for validation or approval. You learn to hold firm to your truth without becoming entangled in others' attempts to drag you into their negativity. This emotional detachment becomes a shield, guarding your mental and emotional well-being. It allows you to choose your battles wisely and conserve your energy for what truly matters: your growth, your dreams, and your happiness. When you master this art, you transform your relationship with toxic people. They lose their power over you because you no longer invest in their opinions or emotions. You become unbothered, unstoppable, and free. This is the strength that fuels your journey toward a life defined by peace, purpose, and authentic joy. One of the most powerful steps toward becoming unbothered by toxic people is mastering the art of boundaries, not just setting them, but owning them with unwavering clarity and confidence. Boundaries are more than rules for others. They are declarations of self-respect. They communicate to the world what you will accept and what you will not. Without strong boundaries, toxic influences creep into your life unnoticed, slowly eroding your peace, your confidence, and your sense of self-worth. When you begin to see boundaries as an act of self-love rather than confrontation, you unlock a profound source of inner power. This shift changes everything. You stop fearing the discomfort of saying no. You stop feeling guilty for prioritizing your well-being. You stop tolerating disrespect disguised as love or friendship. Boundaries become the invisible armor that protects your mental and emotional space. The strength to maintain them comes from a deep belief in your own value, a belief that you deserve respect, kindness, and honesty. When toxic people push against your boundaries, their resistance is a clear sign that you are reclaiming your power. You do not have to engage in battles or justify your limits. Simply standing firm in your truth sends a message that you are no longer available to be manipulated or drained. It's essential to understand that boundary setting is not about controlling others. It's about controlling your space. It's about creating a safe zone where your energy can thrive without constant threat or turmoil. This safety allows you to focus on what nourishes your soul rather than what depletes it. When you consistently enforce your boundaries, you build emotional muscle. The next time someone tries to cross the line, you will respond not with fear or anger, but with calm resolve. This consistency teaches others how to treat you. It also strengthens your self-trust, because each time you honor your limits, you reinforce the message that you are worthy of respect and peace. Learning to say no, to walk away, or to disengage when necessary does not make you weak. It makes you courageous. It means you prioritize your mental health and refuse to accept toxic patterns as a norm. This courage becomes a beacon, drawing like-minded people who respect and support your well-being, and repelling those who seek to harm it. The journey to setting and owning boundaries requires patience and practice. You will face moments of doubt and guilt, especially if you are used to putting others first or avoiding conflict. But every time you choose yourself, you build resilience. You create a life where toxic people hold no power because you do not allow them into your emotional territory. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are gates that protect your peace and invite only what serves your highest good. Embracing this mindset transforms how you live and how you love. It empowers you to stand tall in your truth and walk away from anything that threatens your harmony. When you own your boundaries, you become unshakable. You become a force of calm strength that no toxic energy can penetrate. This is a superpower, a daily choice to protect your peace and nurture your soul. It is your foundation for lasting freedom and joy. Your energy is your most precious resource. Yet toxic people constantly attempt to drain it, leaving you depleted and vulnerable. Recognizing that your emotional energy is finite is crucial to mastering the art of being unbothered. When you understand that every moment you spend reacting to toxicity is a moment lost from your growth, your dreams, and your happiness, you begin to shift your focus with clarity and purpose. It's not about shutting off your feelings or becoming cold. It's about choosing where to invest your energy wisely. You hold the power to decide who and what deserves your attention. And by making that choice deliberately, you reclaim control over your emotional landscape. This deliberate allocation of energy becomes a form of self-defense. It's a mental discipline that protects you from being overwhelmed or manipulated. When toxic people attempt to pull you into their chaos, you remind yourself that engaging is a cost you no longer wish to pay. Instead, you redirect your energy toward building resilience, healing, and pursuing your goals. This shift requires mindfulness, a constant awareness of how your energy flows throughout the day. Ask yourself, where am I spending my emotional strength? Is this conversation, thought, or interaction uplifting me, or is it pulling me down? Awareness opens the door to conscious choice. When you choose to disengage from negativity, you create space for positivity and peace to grow. The challenge lies in breaking old habits of reaction. Toxic people know how to press buttons, to provoke, to stir up emotions that make you feel small or powerless. But you have the capacity to pause, to breathe, and to decide that their attempts no longer hold sway over you. This pause is a powerful moment of reclaiming your authority over your inner world. When you protect your energy this way, you start noticing a profound difference. Your mind becomes clearer, your emotions steadier, and your sense of peace stronger. You stop feeling drained after encounters, and instead, you feel empowered. This empowerment fuels your confidence to set firmer boundaries and to walk away from toxicity without guilt or hesitation. Learning to conserve your energy also means learning to replenish it regularly. Rest, reflection, and activities that nourish your soul become essential practices. When your well-being is prioritized, your ability to resist toxic influences grows exponentially. You build an inner fortress that negativity cannot breach. The way you guard your energy sends a silent but powerful message to those around you. You are not available to be dragged into chaos or drama. This protects your mental and emotional health, allowing you to thrive even in challenging environments. When you fully own your energy, you no longer react impulsively to toxicity. Instead, you respond with calm, clarity, and strength. This emotional sovereignty is a defining characteristic of those who are truly unbothered. It is a superpower born from self-awareness and fierce self-respect. By protecting your energy, you reclaim your freedom to live fully, love deeply, and rise above anything that threatens your peace. This practice is not just survival. It is transformation. It is the foundation of a life where toxic people hold no power, because you simply will not let them. When toxic people try to invade your mental space, the most effective defense is a mindset rooted in detachment, not indifference, but a conscious choice to separate your worth from their chaos. Detachment does not mean shutting down your emotions or avoiding reality. It means refusing to personalize the negativity thrown your way. It is an intentional act of rising above, recognizing that their toxic behavior is a reflection of their own struggles, not your value. When you develop this mindset, you gain clarity and strength to stand firm without being shaken. The power of detachment lies in its ability to protect your emotional equilibrium. Instead of absorbing every insult, manipulation, or criticism, you create an invisible shield that filters out what is untrue and harmful. This shield does not isolate you, it frees you. It allows you to engage with the world without carrying the heavy burden of toxic energy. It's important to understand that detachment is a skill you cultivate through practice and self-awareness. It requires you to pause, observe your reactions, and consciously choose how deeply you let others' negativity affect you. You learn to see toxic behavior for what it really is, a temporary disturbance, not a permanent stain on your identity. This shift in perspective rewires your brain to prioritize your well-being over the need to prove yourself or gain approval. Toxic people often thrive on provoking emotional responses because it feeds their control. When you detach, you deny them that fuel. Your silence, your calm, your refusal to engage in their drama becomes a powerful statement of strength. You show that their toxicity cannot dictate your peace. This does not mean you become cold or disconnected from your feelings. On the contrary, detachment allows you to be fully present with your emotions, without letting them overwhelm or control you. You become the observer of your inner world, rather than a victim of external chaos. This psychological distance is where true resilience is born. You gain the ability to respond rather than react, to choose peace over conflict, and to protect your mental sanctuary with fierce love. Detachment is not a passive defense, it is an active declaration of self-respect and empowerment. It rewires your emotional responses and transforms vulnerability into strength. As you practice this mindset, you begin to experience freedom from the emotional weight toxic people try to impose. You reclaim your right to peace, joy, and self-worth. This mindset becomes your superpower, an unshakable foundation that no toxic influence can erode. When you live with detachment, you embody a quiet strength that commands respect. You create boundaries that are not just physical but deeply psychological. Toxic people may try to test your limits, but detachment keeps you steady and unbothered. You no longer invest energy in battles that drain you. Instead, you focus on what truly matters: your growth, your happiness, your life. This transformation is profound because it frees you from the cycle of hurt and reaction. It empowers you to walk through life with grace, confidence, and unwavering peace. Detachment is your shield, your weapon, and your sanctuary. It is the invisible superpower that changes everything. The foundation of becoming truly unbothered by toxic people lies in mastering your inner dialogue. Every thought you allow to linger shapes your emotional reality. When toxic words or actions come your way, the question is not whether they affect you, that is natural, but how deeply they penetrate your mind and heart. Your inner voice is the gatekeeper between their toxicity and your peace. If your thoughts replay every insult or criticism, you give those toxic influences power over your feelings. But if you learn to intercept and transform these thoughts, you reclaim control. This begins by recognizing that your mind is not a passive receiver but an active participant in your experience. You have the power to challenge and reframe every negative message you receive. When a toxic comment hits, pause and ask yourself, is this true? Does this reflect my real worth? By consciously questioning these intrusions, you weaken their grip and open space for clarity.